All right, guys, you hear me talking a lot about BBQ Champs. I basically mention it on every show 5 or 6 times.
Yep.
So we had to go out and get the man himself, Mike Steele, and come on the show to kind of talk about it. And so you guys understand what it's all about. It's kind of a one-shop, barbecue school, steak school, everything you want to know from the pro. I just took Dave Boschke's class. I tell you, as a seasoned, competitor, I learned so much.
Yep.
My steak game, a lot of people I know out there, their steak game was raised by taking Terry Roan's class, by Shauna's class, by all that stuff. So we have the man himself today on the podcast. Mike, introduce yourself.
Appreciate it, guys. Mike Steele at BBQ Champs Academy. And, man, Rusty, it's so awesome to be on your show. I've been looking forward to it, and I appreciate you reaching out to us. I appreciate you supporting BBQ Champs Academy. So I know you have bought, I think, almost all of our state classes and at least one pitmaster class. I know you bought David Boschke's class, and I'm so glad that you did well with that. So, but yeah, BBQ Champs Academy is the world's first online tell-all competition barbecue cooking school. We show you how to do it for the backyard trim, then go right on into the steak competition guys as well. And we have got a host of I would have to say probably some of the most amazing barbecue pit masters and steak grill masters in the world.
I would agree. And like you have the top guys, you got the GOAT, Terry Roan, right? You got John Lindsay, who's just killing it. You got Lambert. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Smitty, Smitty from Luton Booty. That guy is on fire. So you got everybody on that. And I told you I took Dave Boschke's class. That was really good. You were telling me to take another one because of the technical stuff of it. But
Corey Mike.
Yeah. And one thing we talk about when taking classes, and it's interesting because a lot of people are afraid to take them. And like you said, I've said before too, skip that $350 buy-in for the next Kcbs competition. Skip the gas, skip the McDonald's, skip the hotel room, and buy a class. Do the same thing with steaks because the steaks are a cheaper class. For one competition, one missed, you can get a steak class by the GOAT himself, Terry Roan, by John Lindsay, by Shauna Rapolo, by Ty, by Terry, all those guys. Alan Newton. I took that one too. So it's such a cool thing. So how did this all come about? Like where were you just like, man, I need to put this out into the world?
Well, I was a big time drag racer. And I wanted to get into, I set 2 world records racing, and I kind of hung up the helmet in 2012, and I needed something to do. I'm such a competitive person, and I decided, my wife's like, hey, why don't we go do barbecue competitions? You'd like to cook. So we got into the barbecue competitions and went to the first one just to go see what it was about. And we went over there and talked to the judge. It was at an IBCA event over in Dallas, Texas. And she said, well, look, if you're looking to get into it, you need a judge. We need to get you in here. And I was like, really? People off the street? She said, oh yeah, that's what makes IBCA competition so tough. You never know who you're cooking for. So we judged chicken ribs and brisket, me and my wife both. And we left there that day, talked to a lot of people. People were so friendly and nice and just talking to us. We was thinking about getting in it. And we was coming back, and she said, I think your stuff was probably as good as anything that I ate. She said, why don't we get into it? And I said, okay. So I ordered a smoker. I had always wanted a rotisserie smoker. So I ordered one. That was in September. We went to it. October, I ordered it. And that was in 2013. And, took him about 9 months to build it. I had a custom built smoker, and I got it in July, and, we seasoned it up really good, and I had cooked some ribs on it. That was my forte was ribs. Really loved doing that, but I hadn't cooked a whole lot of briskets, and I started cooking some briskets. I'd cook like 4 at a time. Okay, those are terrible. Let's try this again. I cooked another 4. Okay, these are a little better. And after my 3rd batch of 4, I said, I think I got something pretty good. And, it was coming up about the same time of the year that we had went to that one the previous year. I said, well, we already know the layout. We already know where that is. So let's go back to that competition. And so we went to it, got over there, 50 teams at a state championship cook-off. And didn't walk in chicken. I was like, oh well, there goes chicken. And we tried ribs. I had an 11th place rib. I was like, oh man, one out of the money, and she started calling brisket. She said, you might as well throw that chicken away. You probably ain't got much of a chance, because I'd only cooked like 2 briskets in my life prior to them ones that we had tested. And they're calling through the numbers, and they get up to like 2nd place, and she just looked at me and said, oh, well. And then 1st place brisket, they called the number. She said, that's you, baby. And I was like, you got to be kidding. I had a 1st place brisket. My first competition, made $712.50. I'll never forget it. Got a trophy, finished 3rd overall. I was hooked. And so, that kind of fueled that need to go compete. And that was the only competition we did that year. 2014 was our first full year of competing. And we did pretty good and started making a lot of friends. And man, it's just so awesome to see the barbecue family, how they're all together, and just the camaraderie a lot of us have. And that was in 14, 15, 16, 2017. And, I was really wanting to see this sport grow. And it wasn't growing. And I saw a lot of people that was kind of getting discouraged. It was wanting to quit. Like, man, don't quit, man. We need this thing to grow. And you're still kicking our butt, and I don't know. I just wanted to be able to do something to help grow the sport and to help the people that may have been struggling to come in and be able to take a class. And that's where the vision came from. And I had already wanted to do something with video. And, it was just one of them deals. I had talked to a guy, and he was wanting to do it. He never did anything with it. And we had talked maybe together. And it just, he was going to be way longer than what I wanted to wait. It'd already been waiting a year, and it was just like, it was time to go. I mean, this stuff was starting to get out. And I said, I just need to start making some phone calls to some folks. So I called Joey Smith, Texas Chrome, just won the 2019 Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo with Mark Lambert. So here's a world champion. So I called him up, told him what we was wanting to do. He said, man, I'm in. Picked up the phone next, called Robbie Royal. Robbie was like, I had talked to Robbie a couple times. I had never taken a class. I was thinking about taking his class, and it was so far from Louisiana to Georgia. And he said, what do you need help with? I said, just ribs. I said, my ribs are not hitting as good as they should. I'm killing brisket. Chicken's doing pretty good. He said, man, let me just kind of help you a little bit. Try this. Use these rub combinations. Seems like you got the techniques. Just try these flavor profiles. Sure enough, did it. First time go out, had a 5th place rib using this stuff. I was like, dang, that's pretty good. So Robbie and I had stayed in touch, and I kind of called him and told him what I was wanting to do. And he said, Mike, I'm telling you, he said, I've always wanted to do it. It's so dadgum expensive to do it and to set it all up and do it right. And I said, I don't think just a class just with one individual person would ever work, because it's just you. You're only going to sell so many of just you. And when you start getting a network of all of these guys together that we've got now, it just continues to grow. I'd say probably 75% of our customers that have bought classes come back and bought other classes and stuff. So it's worked out pretty well. And after we got Robbie, I called Corey Mikes, and actually Joey was at a competition with Corey Mikes. He said, hey man, Mike Steele's fixing to do something I think is going to change the whole barbecue world. And what is it? He's like, I can't tell him under non-disclosure reason. What the heck are you telling me for? He said, you just need to call Mike Steele. Well, give him my number. So I called Corey, told him. He was like, dude, I am so in. This is going to be amazing. So I had Shauna Rapolo here in Shreveport, in the same town I am. I talked to her. She jumped aboard. Alan Newton jumped aboard. I had already known Alan for years in the barbecue stuff. And that was our 5 we launched it with: Joey, Robbie, and Corey Mikes. And then the 2 state grill masters were Shauna Rapolo and Alan Newton. And we launched it on June the 28th, 2019. And I'm telling you, it was huge. I mean, right off the get-go, it took the barbecue world, I think, by storm. And it was probably a month or 2 after that, we got Mark Lambert on board. And, they just kept coming. We just kept talking to more and more people. And after we got Mark, next up, Lee Hickle was the 2019 IBCA points champion. And I had met him in Shreveport when he came to a competition. And I said, Lee, man, if you can just keep on going and keep that lead in first place. We was a little over halfway through the season. I said, I've got something big that we're doing. And right when we launched it, I told him what it was. And he said, oh my goodness. And so glad to have Lee Hickle aboard. And then after we got Lee, we got Smitty, got Sterling in. And, Mr. 2-time, 3-time now, because he won another world champion over in Australia. We got him in. And then the beginning of this year, we got Craig Sherry in with Texas Pepper Jelly. You know, he's a 2-time world champion. He hasn't got a chance to cook a whole lot the last 4 years because he's been our IBCA president, but he is hot and heavy, ready to get on the trail. Now COVID's got us shut down. And then about 2 months ago, we put David Boston with Butcher Barbecue on. So that's kind of the roundup of who we got in barbecue pit masters. And I mean, that's an elite group. All of them are world champions. We kind of pick on Lee a little bit. He hadn't won a world champion. The guy's only been cooking 2 years. He was number 1 in the points championship in 2019. He finished number 2 in the points this year. And I tell you, if COVID hadn't hit, it would have been he needed one more grand champion. It probably would have, I think it would have put him in first place. But he was happy. He said, hey, I'm 2. I'm good with that. So back-to-back year, 1 and 2 after his first 2 years of cooking. And so we've got some talented guys there. And then this year we've added, Mr. Terry Roan, 2018 world champion, and the 2019 SCA in the United States points runner-up, John Lindsay. And so we've got a pretty stacked house of grill masters and pit masters. It's 100% tell-all class. And we just wanted to help grow both the SCA and help the barbecue grow, the Kcbs, IBCA, any of it. I mean, like you said just a minute ago, you brought up something really important, Rusty. I mean, you can skip one competition. Just don't go to it. And what you will learn from these guys, unless if you're just an absolute seasoned pro and killing it, if you're struggling a little bit, just need some help, want to get more consistent walks, you can skip one competition, and these guys are going to teach you a lot.
Yeah, and we had a couple people this last competition had taken John Lindsay's class and got calls for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And I know because, they hit me up. They're like, what class should I take? And I'm like, oh, just push the button, dude.
Yeah, well,
scroll through and put your finger down. And so they ended up taking, I want to say John Lindsay's. And
Leanne Luxley Loop called me today and she's like, hey, I bought this class and I was watching it and she had some questions about it. And so it's circulating quickly. All even up to the pro competitors league,
And so it just takes you from that element. A lot of people. So the classes for me, a lot of people are like, well, classes are expensive. I'm like, well, this sport's expensive.
Yeah.
Cut that curve as soon as you can, because you're either going to sit in this, spend $125, $150 a contest, and you can do 10, 20 of those before you even get a call, or skip one, take a class, and in 3 you can be, walking just like Brennan did.
Yeah, exactly.
So
same
thing.
I'll tell you this. John was telling me the other day that in the last 4 weeks, people that have taken his class, in the last 4 weeks, 4 competitions, he's had 25 top 10 customers that took his class walk in the top 10. 25 over the last 4 weeks have been in the top 10. Not to mention Terry Roan, same. I think he's had probably 15 or 20 that have taken his class that's been in the top 10. It's getting tough. I mean, these guys, they laid it out. I mean, you saw it, and so when if you want to know how good they are, the proofs it's in the drag racing. What we used to say, it's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
And if you want to know where the success is, when somebody can go in and take a class and immediately put themselves consistently in the top 10. When you've got 25 customers that have taken these classes just in the last 4 weeks, that's the ones that we know of. There may be a lot of it. We just haven't even been able to keep up with all of them. And, but that's just ones that John knows of that he's cooking against. He's had so many people that's taken his class that has beat him. It's not even funny. So, they're beating him with his own recipe. And John's over there like, man, I've got to start tweaking some stuff, or I'm never going to be back in the top 10 again. So, and same thing with Terry. I mean, these guys are they laid it out. I said, look, lay it out, give them the best that you got. And if you do, it's going to show. It'll show in the sales, because when people can go out and cook and do good, they're going to be excited about it. So if you're on the fence, I can tell you right now, get off the fence, because go read the reviews on our website. I think we got 27, 28 reviews, and they're just one after another. Just people absolutely love them. Yeah. And it's not only the steak, it's the barbecue guys. We had, I want to tell you a little story. The first time that we launched this, and this is a cool little story. We launched it on June the 28th, 2019. about 3 days later, we had a guy named Larry Dwayne Anderson. He cooks with me in IBCA. He's lives about 40, 50 miles from us. He's right over here on East Texas, right close to the border of Louisiana. And he took the class. He actually took Corey Mike's class. Mister, you need another class. Corey Mike, let me tell you what happened. So he went and he took Corey Mike's All Access class. He bought it we launched it on Friday. He bought it on a Sunday or Monday. The very next weekend, or that coming weekend, he bought it on July the 4th weekend. 1 week later, I think he had the class for 5 days. He was able to get the stuff for the ribs, and he was able to get the stuff for the chicken. He didn't get the stuff for the brisket. Couldn't even find a brisket that Corey uses. And he cooked in a state championship over in Rusk, Texas. And he was there, and I went over and talked to him, and I said, how'd you like the class? He said, Dad, they were really good. And he said, man, I think I learned quite a bit. And I said, awesome, man. So he rolled Corey's recipe. He had an 8th place chicken. I was like, oh man, I was so excited, and this is a guy that had been cooking for about 1.5 years. He had not done very well. He had probably 1 or 2 top 10 finishes. They were just sporadic, and he just struggled, but he liked to cook, but he wasn't cooking a whole lot. And he'd cook, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 competitions, and it's expensive when you go and you don't walk. So I had an 8th place chicken. Ribs came along. He had a 2nd place rib.
Wow.
And at that point, I was just excited as all get out. He didn't have a brisket call. He didn't cook Corey's brisket. And he finished, I think, 3rd or 4th overall. He made $600. He paid $599 for the class. He's got it now forever for him to look at. And I was so dadgum excited, because that is the whole reason why I started BBQ Champs, to help somebody that is struggling to be able to come out and just do good and just get top 10 walks. Does it happen every time? A lot of them, but in a case like this, it was right off the get-go. What was it, a fluke? Well, and I did not say anything. I was wanting to jump up and down and yell, but I kept it quiet. I didn't want, you remain anonymous unless you make it known. And I went over there to him, and with all the guys around, I walked up and I said, hey, Larry, man, congratulations. He said, man, you ain't got to be quiet. I done told all these guys that we cook with that I took his class. I was like, are you serious? He said, yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, man, you don't know how happy I am. I mean, this is exactly what I was hoping would happen, that somebody could take it. And then some of the guys I called, are these classes really that good? I said, why are you asking me? There's the proof right there. He just kicked our butt. So, and he goes to the next competition. He got a chance to cook his brisket, had a 5th place brisket, had a 9th place rib, blew the chicken apart like 210 degrees. He just flat overcooked it, and still had a 14th place chicken. And so he still made money there. He goes to his next competition. It was one of the rare competitions they cooked pork in IBCA. He had a 1st place, a 1st place, a 2nd place, a 4th place, got his 1st grand champion. He's already up $1,900 at this point. Goes to his next competition, has 3 top 10 finishes. He got his 2nd grand champion about a month before COVID hit, and had another 1st, a 2nd, and a 2nd, or a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. He's done made well over $4,000 in his first year competing. And I mean, that is just about the best testimonial I could ever even think of. Other than another, we'll talk about it. I got to Corey Mike's class, and we're gonna get you on that too. So, but I mean, that's how good the classes are. I mean, and we had another guy, Bill Manning. He took Joey Smith's class. He's bought a bunch of them, and first time out cooking Joey's chicken recipe, 1st place chicken. I think that was his first place chicken that he had ever had. And it's over and over. It's just getting so hard now. You can't even keep up with all of them. Right. So numerous top 10 finishes, grand champions and reserve grand champions.
Yeah. What I like about your class is, you can buy a class, and you can watch the video back as much as you want, but if there's something that you're not picking up on, you have the opportunity to actually reach out to that pitmaster and ask them personally, because you have a private Facebook group set up for people who purchase the class. That is a definite perk, because you're watching a video and you do have questions that you might have that is not covered. You can reach out to that pitmaster and just ask that question, also, and they will get back to you.
One thing that's cool though is sometimes they'll test new recipes and they'll try something new, and on that Facebook page they'll talk about it. You know, like hey, I'm trying this now. Maybe they do the same thing in the class, but if it ever does change, that's a good place to learn.
Yeah, so it's like, it's almost like you're buying this class in, we'll just say it's 2019, but you're actually going to start progressing with them throughout that Facebook group.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. If you buy the all access class, you do get access to a private Facebook page. And if there's little tips, Terry's been trying some new little things, and, somebody saw, hey, you didn't have that in the class. He said, I'm still trying to play with this to see if this even works, man, and let me get it. Let me perfect it. And if I get it perfected and it's doing good, I'll share it with you and let you know. Now, they don't have to do that. You bought the class. These guys are constantly going to change stuff. I mean, that was shot 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And so things change. Profiles change a little bit. You got to change with the time. It wasn't, we're going to give you everything every single time. No, you get the recipe that he's using that won in 2018 and 2019, but yet he's still willing to help people along the way. Hey, and if y'all want to share that, if you want to do it, fine, go right ahead. That's up to you. Keep your customers happy. Yep. So that is a cool perk that you can go. And we try to ask all the tough questions. That's one thing. I'm right there with them when they're cooking. Why do you do this? What is that? What is this? I'm there asking the questions that you would be there asking if you was taking a live in-person class. And I go through so many questions. Why do you do this? What are you talking about here? What's this? And right when you think, oh man, I wish you'd asked that. Oh yeah, there we go. That was the question that I wanted. So I really try to do that.
And so you do a great job. Let me touch on that for a sec. Yeah. I have several times on these classes sitting there and go, and I'll think of something. All of a sudden, Mike, no joke, dude, ask that question. I'm like, what's this witchery?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, say like you're going to have a guest come in. Are you making just notes and notes and notes on your phone on what to ask, or is it just all off the top of your head?
All off the top. Nothing is scripted. Nothing is cut. Every one of those videos, if you've ever watched, there's no edits. There's no cuts. There's no nothing. We roll with it, and I'm just steadily asking them questions. What I think I would want to know more information about what they're explaining, because I'm trying to think of the backyard person and I'm thinking of the competition person. So a lot of them questions we're trying to answer for the backyard person. What are you talking about? What is this intramuscular fat that you're talking about? What is this marbling in this brisket that you're talking about? Well, that's the fat that runs in the meat. Well, why do you want that? Well, fat is flavor. Fat is tenderness. Fat is juiciness. It helps absorb more seasoning and stuff in that. So we go through all that for the backyard person. We show you how to trim a brisket for the backyard, how to prep it for the backyard, but then we just continue to take it on to the full-blown competition. So these classes are ideal for the backyard person that really wants to cook the most amazing food ever. The steak stuff, pretty much well the same. We show you how to trim a backyard steak. We show you how to trim a competition steak. And then, the rub's pretty much well the same. If you want to go a touch lighter, these steaks are not out of bounds. I mean, these are just good eating steaks. And no matter if it's the competition or not. I mean, ask the judges that I had we've talked to before. They all say the same thing. I mean, like, oh yeah, I mean, I just like a good, well-seasoned steak, and these are. So yeah, I really do try to just hit on it. I don't script nothing out. When they come in, like, what are we going to talk about? I don't tell them. I was just like, follow my lead. I'm going to ask you questions, and I just need you to answer them. So they have no idea what I'm going to ask. Right.
I was actually going to ask you about that on the production side of everything. Is you call up a pit master and say, "Hey, I want you to come in." Do they tell you what kind of pits they're working on, what kind of meats they want to use, any of that stuff, or is it they just show up and you have cookers there?
No, we just tell them, their requirement is bring your pit that you're going to use. If you cook on a drum or something like that, or a Green Mountain grill, I've got those. Like Sterling, he said, "Hey, you got some WSMs or a drum?" Yep. Got a Green Mountain grill. Yep. That's what I need. That's what I cook on. Good. Just fly in. Have your meat delivered here. He did. We filmed this class. So. No, I mean, it's we know with the four meats, we're going to cook brisket, ribs, pork, butt, and chicken. That's what all four of our the pitmaster classes are going to cook. So that's what they're going to cook. And I just say, I want your recipe. If you're going to come in here and give me some old lame stuff, I don't want it. please do not mess up the integrity of what we've done. If you don't want to give me 100% tell-all class of what you're doing, we don't need you. If you want to do that, you're going to do very well by pushing it, by getting all the stuff out there, because the success of you selling your classes is going to be when these people go out and consistently win over and over and are doing good. And that's what we're seeing with these classes. So nothing's scripted. I mean, I just tell them, bring your stuff, show up. Well, what do I need to know? You don't need to know nothing. You just need to know how to cook your food. I'm going to ask the questions. I will lead you. I will guide you right through it. And David Bosco was like, man, he said, you're asking things I never would have thought about. You know, I've had a couple of them like, you know, like you just getting information. I was like, that's what it's all about. We automatically, as pit masters, we automatically assume that everybody knows everything, right? That's the biggest mistake you can make.
Right.
And let's go with the flow. You want to make entertaining TV? You want to make entertaining videos? This is how it is. It's not one person sitting up in front of the camera going, blah, 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 do this, blah, 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 by himself. That's the most boringest thing in the world. It'll never work.
We've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah. So when you're right there and you're interacting and show me what you're doing, and let's hold that up. Well, look at this. I want to see this. We bring all that out in the videos. And I just tell him, I said, we don't stop. You know, he was like, well, what do we edit? No, we don't edit. We roll. You just do what you do, and we go with it. You know, about the only thing you don't need to do is mess up on a trim, because we ain't starting over. You got one brisket. So let's go with it. And nobody does. These guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. So it's good. I mean, it really is. I think that's what makes all these classes so good. They're not scripted and cut and chopped and put together. We roll with it. And that to me just shows just how authentic the videos really are.
So what's the funnest part of, oh, sorry, Russ, I didn't mean to catch up.
I just wanted to comment on that a little bit, just to clarify, because a lot of people, when I take a class, I always sit there and wonder at the end, like, how much of that was really what they do, you know?
Yeah.
And you can almost tell just the way Mike asks questions that they can't really escape it, you know?
Hey,
and so it's like, you can just tell that they're giving what they know, because Mike's asking these questions, and you can just see them, and there's never it's just, we just roll right out. That's what I do.
That's it.
And what you pull out of these guys is a great, you know, I take classes live from people too, and you just don't get that element, you know?
Right.
It's whatever, and you can't, when I've taught classes live, and when you take a live class, we've done it before. Yeah. You're too much in what you're doing, you know?
Right.
And then you go home and you're like, crap, we should have said this, and this.
Right.
So it's nice to have someone there walking you through it, and I just got to cook. Oh yeah, Mike, what's up? You know, and it's so much easier. You get so much more information out of it.
I think I think you might have touched on this a little bit, but I was just wondering, what's the most exciting part for you? Is it actually recording or post-production, or actually starting to promote it, or actually seeing the person actually that bought the class winning? Like what really gets you like, yes, I need to do more of these. I need to keep this going. What's the driving point on
the customers that continue to come back and going out and winning? That was the whole purpose of this. That was it. That to me is the thrill of all of it. When I see these guys taking these classes and going out and they're sending me messages like, man, thank you so much for putting this together. I am just consistently walking now. This is fun now. I'm not losing so much money going to competitions and not winning. And, you know, I'm energized, and I can't wait to go to the next one. To me, that's what it's all about. It's a lot of work putting these classes on. I mean, a barbecue pitmaster class, it typically takes us about 6 hours to do the first section, the trims, the injections, this, that, and then it's usually 10 hours to cook everything the second day. So these classes are anywhere from, 16, 17 hours to film. And when you get done, you end up anywhere between 29 and 38 videos, depending on what different things they may do that somebody else may not. And they could run anywhere from 6.5 hours to 9.5 hours. And it just depends on how many videos that they've got. Some do an injection, some may not do an injection. And, but every time you add a little something that one may not do, it adds a little bit more time to the videos. But we don't leave nothing out. That's the whole thing. So that part is, my job is coming in and getting them here, just I've got a professional film crew that comes in. There's no way I could do this by myself. I mean, these guys are professionals that we have come in. 3 camera angles, a camera that we talk to, a camera that's 2 foot in front of the food, a camera that's directly over the top of it here on the set. I mean, it's like you're watching the Food Network. And we don't keep one camera on. We're bouncing different cameras. That keeps you engaged. You're never losing out. You always see the angles. If there's something that's really unique, we literally hold it and put it. I don't jerk them things out of my ears again. We literally hold it right up to the camera where you can see it. And to me, that is what makes it. I think that's what makes it so entertaining, is that you can go in and you can see all that, and it's up close. You're not losing it, and you're getting the details that we're showing in the class. I want you to completely understand what we're doing. You said something just a minute ago that's very important. You go to an in-person class, you're only going to get what he wants to tell you, right?
Or what he remembers.
Yeah, remember. Yeah.
I'm talking about the instructor.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
You're only going to get the information that he wants to tell you. That's it. Mm-hmm. These guys don't know what I'm going to ask them. Mm-hmm. So my deal, like you said, oh man, he may not have been expecting that question, but he's done asked on it, and we're not stopping and cutting it. We're going to keep rolling through it. And it's never, no, they answer it because I told them. So that's number one. We get really the information out of it. Number two is the whole part. You can only remember so much. You go to an in-person class and say it's a barbecue class, and it's 2 days, and you see him put the rub on one time. You see him mix the stuff up. You see him inject one time. You get one time, and you're trying to write all this, and he did something, and you're writing. Did you miss it? And people say, well, I want to be able to taste it. I can't taste it in an online class. Okay. I can tell you this. If you can't 100% remember what he did, you're never going to get the same taste that he had in the class anyway. Mm-hmm. So what to me is more important is to see exactly how he does it. We show you the temperature. They're talking about, well, the texture and the taste or the pull and this and that. We show that so well in these classes. When we're probing the brisket, when we're probing ribs, when we do that, we give you a temperature, we give you times, we show the temperature of the meat. I promise you, it's usually within a degree of being absolutely the same as what they're showing in the class. It will get you so close that if you need to tweak it up a degree or down a degree, you're going to be that close. And that, to me, is why the guys that are taking not only the barbecue classes, but the steak classes are doing so dadgum well.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's kind of what I said before. It's just, you just know. Because, we did ours, we gave our recipe out, we did what we had to do. But, man, if I wasn't giving it out and you asked me a question, that would trip me up, Yeah, right. So I have one question. I'm interested to know.
Okay.
What's one thing because you do competitions yourself, and I don't know if you do them anymore, but what's the one thing you shigged off someone in these classes that really helped you the most? And you don't have to answer specifics because go by the class, but
right. People keep asking me, "Are you cooking everybody's recipe?" I don't. I've been very, very successful with the recipes and stuff that I've cooked. In the last probably 45 competitions, I've had 35 top 6 and higher briskets. My ribs, like 2017, 2018, we went to 13 competitions. I had 12 top 10 finishes in brisket, ribs, and chicken. And 2019 was still pretty good. So I played around with a few of them. And did good. I cooked Lee Hickles chicken at 2 or 3 competitions. I cooked it at the big IBCA showdown, 285 teams. I had a 23rd place chicken using Lee Hickles recipe. I've cooked it a couple times. I have cooked Corey Mike's ribs a couple times. I will not cook nobody's brisket, but Mike Steele's brisket. My brisket is that's my strongest point, and it has been from the first competition I've ever cooked at. So I have not cooked anybody's brisket but mine, and they all joke. When are you gonna do a class? I said, I'm not good enough to be on my own show. I said, I have not won any world champions, and I have not won any points chase champions. So, I mean, I may be a 3-time Louisiana points champion, but that's just in the state of Louisiana, what the IBCA calls out of state. I just call it Louisiana,
right? But
not in the top 10. And so, yeah, there's a few little things. Trimming, stuff like that, not really. I mean, I saw something pretty cool that David Bosca did on his brisket, and I was like, what the heck was this? And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I had never seen that. But what he did doesn't really help my brisket the way I cook, because I cook at a little different, lower temperature. And I cook my brisket at 260, and mine's on a rotisserie smoker. So mine is just constantly going round and round. I won't have that problem with what you saw him do in that class on that brisket, which I thought was I thought that alone was worth the price of admission of the class. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
When he was doing the work on the brisket at the very beginning. But I have learned some things, some little tricks. Lee Hickle's got an amazing tip that he does in the wrapping process of his ribs, that I have incorporated that part of it, not the ingredients, but how he goes about doing it and the amount that he puts in it. I'm just going to leave it there to really screw you up. So, but that to me, and I took that and I kind of tweaked it and played a little bit with temperatures, and it's been pretty amazing what it does to the texture of the ribs for IBCA. So, you know, not a whole lot. I mean, we all kind of inject. I mean, I think we all kind of do it the same for IBCA. I don't really cook Kcbs, and my brisket, we all kind of do it the same. I inject my brisket a little bit different than everybody in the class, but there is some amazing techniques that I think would help anybody. A lot of the techniques I had kind of, you know, picked up on my own, just playing with trim and getting things right. And then flavor profiles, you know, I kind of like to have some unique flavor profiles in my brisket, in my ribs, and my chicken and stuff. And then it kind of stands out, and I kind of go down that route. And when it hits great. And when it doesn't, you know, you're like, probably brought something that they didn't like. But I try to make my food stand out.
Right. So I have another question more on you. Yep. Are you out there competing in SEAs as well? Are you I was just wondering if you did any SEA events or.
I cooked one SEA event in 2016, 2017. There were 69 teams at a competition one time down in Texas. I remember one guy drove all the way from Kansas. I was like, man, these guys are nuts. He drove from Kansas down to like middle part of Texas. And I was like, holy cow. And I had a 4th place steak. And I was like, dang, that was pretty good. So I put my brisket rub on it.
Nice.
Yeah, I told her, she said, what are you going to do? I said, my brisket is amazing. I'm going to put my rub that I use on my brisket. And I just pretty much will use like half the rubs that I put on my brisket, I put on the steak. I had a 4th place. And I think I had cooked one other one. I think prior to that, I didn't even know nothing about steaks at that time. I don't remember what I finished. I think like 17th, 18th or something. But then I cooked that one, had the grill grates and all that, and kind of like, okay, I'm just going to cook a steak and play around. Had a 4th place steak. I was thrilled to death. So, but I have not got into it. I have thought about it.
Do it. Make the jump. Do it. You have enough experience just by watching you doing these videos.
No, I will tell you. Now, if I did, because I am not a big time, I haven't ever cooked 2 steak competitions, right? Would Mike Steele take what he's learned off of these guys and use it? You dadgum bet your butt I would. So, because it's just like you said, why am I going to go out there and go play around? Yeah, I cooked one and I had a 4th place, but I don't know how to trim and tie and do all that crap. And, you know, I just rolled up there with I think I put some picks through it. I didn't tie it with no string. I didn't know nothing about all that stuff. Now the techniques that I have learned from these guys and watching them, I could shape up a steak and probably know how to trim it a little bit better and how to make it look presentable and on appearance and stuff. And you know, I would probably do think I would probably do pretty well. I would probably use some of their rubs along with some of my brisket rub. You know me, I'm not going to run exactly what somebody does because my whole deal was like, you know, everybody thinks, well, you got everybody's stuff. That wasn't the purpose for me to do it. The purpose for me to do it was to help everybody else, not for me to get everybody's recipes and do something with them. And, you know, people ask, well, who's you cook? I said, not cooking nobody's. I cooked Lee Hickle's rib, 2 or 3 competitions. I cooked his chicken, I think, in 3 competitions. I was happy with the results. I mean, they were really, really good. Up where we are in East Texas, I had to make a little bit of a tweak compared to where he's cooked. He cooks down in South Texas, but he's cooked everywhere. And no matter where this guy cooks, he does incredibly well. The first time I met him was in Shreveport. He's cooking next to me. And I'm thinking, oh, man, here we go. Who are you? I'm points, you know, leader right now. And I was like, man, what you coming up here messing with us? Get on back down and leave us alone. And that's how I met him. And we joked, had a good time. And I was like, don't be coming up here bringing a brisket. You're in my land now, man. That's going to be beat me in brisket. Of course, I got my brisket way too salty at that competition. And but I did beat him in rib. I had a 3rd place rib, and I think he had a 7th, but he had a 1st place brisket, and I had a 7th place brisket. So, but he's grand champion it. I didn't. So he everywhere he cooks, he does incredibly well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I may, you know, I'm so not upset. Yeah, I'm upset. I want to go barbecue, and we can't go barbecue. The IBCA has got to shut down to October.
That's right.
You know, and it's just like, golly, man, I want to go cook. You know, I mean,
well, here's an open invitation. Ridiculous. Come out to Utah. We got 2 SCA events coming out. Make the jump.
You know how far that is for me from Shreveport, Louisiana. What is like 9 billion miles? That's okay.
Don't worry about that. You just jump on an airplane and we got you. We got everything you need.
It's a 24-hour drive.
Everything I need. Bring my brisket rub and some stuff.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh man, but I don't know. It is a lot of fun. And, you know, seeing the camaraderie that all the state cookers have, I can see that is why that's growing so much, and it's exciting. It's not as expensive as the barbecue stuff. And to me, that's what makes the SCAs such a fun deal right now. And I think that's why it's growing so well.
Do you think, like, because you're around, you don't cook SCAs, you don't cook Kcbs, you cook IBCA, but I have this theory, like, do you think that it's just exciting and fun that people are going to come out to this SCA? They pay $125 and it's kind of the Wild West right now, you know, and you have some places that are forming a good judging core. So the consistency in winning is a little bit more, you know, consistent. Whereas out here, it's more like you could just, who knows, you know, it's like the old Wild West. I have this thing where I think Kcbs is kind of getting a bad rap now and people moving away from it, but I think they're going to want to come back to Kcbs a little bit. And I know you're an IBCA guy, so this is kind of why you cook IBCA, but just get your take on this. Do you think people will go back because of the standard that they have, and then there is something to shoot for, and it is a little bit more challenging?
For Kcbs?
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I had a conversation with somebody the other day thinking that Kcbs is it's kind of in a decline a little bit. And, you know, I kind of think about the same thing. You have the same heavy hitters that are always going, always winning. They've got a little, maybe some sponsored money behind them. They've done very, very well. They've got it figured out. And it kind of gets discouraging when you go to a competition all the time and you're getting shellacked and you start to lose interest. And so I do think that that's kind of the downfall on some of that stuff. It's kind of the same thing that I saw with IBCA. You know, we're trying to help with people. You know, we're trying to help that sport grow in barbecue. I mean, I think we've done an amazing job at what we've done with our state cookers, helping the people in SCA. I know of at least 50 people, at least 50, maybe more, that have jumped on our classes and have done incredibly well in SCA. That's a lot of folks. I mean, when you got 50 people, and it's not just one or two. I mean, they're doing very, very well with it. The barbecue stuff, the people that have taken the classes, and we've sold a lot of barbecue classes, they're doing very well with them. You know, they've got 2 or 3 classes, 4 classes. And they can take a little technique here, a little technique there. They can take them, mix them up. This is what I was telling John and Terry and Sean and all those. I mean, they didn't take just your class. They took all of them. Mm-hmm. And now they got all these, they done picked the minds of all these champions and they can roll it together. And now you're not cooking it just to get, John ain't cooking against just John. He's cooking against John, Terry, Shauna, and Alan. And that's a tough deal when you start having everybody's recipe like that. So yeah, KCBS, I don't know. A friend of mine I was talking to the other day, he thinks it's really, it's not growing. It seems to be struggling a little bit. Do you think COVID will help everybody kind of re-energize? Is that what you was talking about, to maybe get back into cooking?
Well, it's more like, I look at SCA as kind of like a UFC fight. You know, one roundhouse kick, you're gonna win. You know, and it can happen to anyone. Whereas boxing, the best guy in the ring is gonna win that fight. And I think KCBS is boxing, and steak right now is a little on the MMA side. You know, where just anyone can win. I think that. We might tire of that, but then you do IBCA, which is, do they have structures like this is exactly what we need to do? They're more looser than they are at KCBS. You know, I think where IBCA came from was like, all right, KCBS a little strict. Let's move. You know, let's have a little bit more fun here. I think that's what SCA is doing too, and I think maybe people will cook all those and kind of want to come back to those standards. You know, a little bit to you know, it feels more like the best people in the ring are going to win, you know, but I think it's also fun SCAs that you can just come and cook and heck yeah, look at me, I won. I wonder if people will grow tired of that a little bit. You know? Yeah,
they probably do. I think you're probably right. You know, when you roll up at a KCBS event, you see this guy, you see, you know, the Matt Walkers and the Brads and, you know, the Tims and this and that and so many other ones. You know, like, man, those guys are going to be tough to beat. You know, you're already probably at a disadvantage because they're just that dadgum good. And so you're probably hoping, well, I hope I get a 5th to a 10th. But, you know, I want to go to competition. Lee Hickle will tell you, I go to competition to win. I'm not going to competition to go and just get a top 10. I'm focused to go and cook my very best to win a competition. You got to have that mindset, you know. I mean, if you want to just go to have a good time, go have a good time, but that's expensive, you know. A lot of people sit in the backyard and have a good time, but you know, it's expensive after a while. And to me, it's just about, you know, getting out and focusing and doing the very, very best that you can. You've got to go into it. Lee Hickle will tell you, he's not there. He doesn't go there to drink and party. He is going there and he is on his game. And I'm kind of the same way. I mean, my came from the drag racing, you know, I mean, it is detailed everything. I mean, we had a car that ran over 213 miles an hour in a quarter mile, ran 6.6 seconds at 213 miles an hour. And we had data logs of every track across the country that we raced, as far as from Ohio to Virginia to Florida to, you know, Chicago. I mean, all over the country. So we had a tune up for our chassis and the engine and whatever we was doing for every track. Well, it's the same thing. I rolled that over into my barbecue stuff. You know, every single competition that I've ever cooked, I've got a notepad that it's got everything, weather, conditions, what I did, what rub I used, what my temperature was, my times. No matter what competition, I can go back, I can look at exactly what I did. What did I do here? What did I tweak here? It's small little tweaks. I can go back and compile a whole list, you know, meat side up, meat side down on ribs. I played with that. I looked at the results after 35 competitions. What was the result? It's neat when you have that. A lot of people just, they just roll with it. That's fine. There's some people that are good enough to do that. That's not me. I'm the freak, you know. I weigh all my rubs out in grams. I know exactly how much I'm putting on my brisket, on my ribs, every single cook. I wanted to back some salt off of my brisket as it came wintertime. Guess what? All my stuff is weighed out. I want to take 30% of my salt away. Took 30% off every one of my rubs, rolled out. My brisket had fallen from I was in the like first, second. I had like 3 or 4 competitions run, a third. All of a sudden I went like 5th, 6th. And I was like, brisket's not quite hitting as much. I was like, maybe it's just a touch salty the time of the year. I went in, I calculated, took 30% off because I know exactly what I'm putting on it. I go out 63 teams, second place. I don't know. Wow. Call it luck or call it being smart. Mm-hmm. I call it just knowing what I needed to do. It wasn't a guess. I knew exactly what it was going to do to my brisket. People don't think like that. I do. Probably gave away too much right there, but hey.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's just, when I hit a first place rib, I know exactly how much rub I put on that rib.
Wow.
I do it the same my brisket and my ribs will taste the same every single time. Why? Because I use the exact same weight brisket. I use the same size ribs. I use the same exact sauce, the same exact rub every single time I cook.
There you go. Consistency. This is the class right here, Mike. This is your own class. Yeah. This is the stuff that people can learn from you. And that's the thing I need to do more of, because writing it down, I don't. And then I go, wow, why did we win? Who knows? That's lost forever in the ethos and just people, and now it's gone. And I think people need to be more detailed, because there is a reason. I'm not trying to say SCA that you're not going to come out there and not be consistent. There's a reason why Terry Roan is winning 8 times plus the state championships in the same year. That's not a fluke, and now he's coming up and he's chasing Sandy Brown right now. He's, right now still, and John Lindsay's creeping up there, and, there is a consistency in it, but I just hope that, I love them both. It's hard for me. I thank God IBCA is not out here, because my head would explode. I just stay home. Like,
that's all lies.
It is. And if you watch Terry, I told us to Terry, your nickname needs to be Iceman. I said, man, you are just this. He is just, when he is in his game, it's, I do this, I pick up, I brush this, I do that, I wipe this, I flip that, I do this. It's like a stinking machine, and nothing rattles him. You can tell this guy has done this probably 1,000 times, and he's perfect every time when he does it. But it's consistency, and that's what it takes. If you think you're going to just roll out there and not be consistent doing it, you got another thing coming. The ones that win are consistent. John Lindsay's the same way. Shauna was the same way. I see why they've won what they've won. Alan was the same way. They're very, very, very consistent on what they do. All the barbecue guys is the same way. It's technique. So yeah, Kcbs, I think that, I'm sure they really needed the American Royal. I think that would have really helped them. And, there's just a lot of stuff going on. Now, one of the things that I learned a little bit about for the first time was the backyard division of Kcbs.
Yeah.
Steve Dotson, one of the guy that cookout coach on the YouTube channel, he had taken Corey Mike's class.
By the way, if you guys aren't getting this joke, before this interview, I told him I have a strict no buy, because we actually, just full disclosure, we had interviewed Mike before, but I had recorded over the episode on accident, because we're professionals here.
Keep it professional.
And on there, I'd wanted to buy David Bosch's class. So I bought it while I was talking to Mike, and right on the episode I was going to buy.
Like, dang, hey, I got an order. It was you. Yep, you sure
and so
did.
I said to him, "I'm not buying a class. This conversation. This is my rule. I'll buy it later, but not right now." So that's what he's trying to get me to do. That's what the joke is.
So anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Steve and why you need to go ahead and buy Corey's class now before it, comes off air or something. So anyway, that ain't going to happen, but you don't know that. So, but Steve, he cooked in the Kcbs backyard division. I didn't know nothing about that. Do you know anything about the backyard division?
I do, actually. Yeah. Funny enough, I'm actually working with Kcbs right now to start a Kcbs backyard division in Utah for next year.
Awesome. That is great. I think that right there, if Kcbs really wants to grow it, after talking to him and seeing how it is, you cook 2 meats. You cook chicken and ribs. You don't have to go cook a $220 brisket. You don't have to go buy 4 pork butts or 5 pork butts, that may cost $30, $40, $50 a pop. I don't know what the comp parts is. I don't cook. I'm sure they're expensive.
Yes.
But I know it's amazing, and you pretty much will have to have them. They're probably $40 or $50 for a comp part, but am I close? I don't really know. So
yeah, you're pretty much right on. That's why I just
pretty much. So yeah. So the backyard division, everything is judged the same, but you're only cooking ribs and you're cooking chicken. So you can get into it. You can get those 2 meats really, really, really dialed in. And if you do, then you've only got 2 other meats that you got to contend with. And so he had cooked, I don't know, a couple of years I think 1.5, 2 years in the Kcbs backyard division. And I think he had 1 grand champion in like 15 contests. And just never consistent. He does good here, there, not super high scores. And he called me and he was like, I need some help. And I was like, and this is probably 3 months after we had launched BBQ Champs. 4 months. Let's see, July, August, September, October. It was probably about 4 months. It was October, November of last year. And I said, if you need some help, I would suggest you go take Corey Mike's class, Corey. And I said, go take Corey Mike's class. He is an amazing Kcbs cooker. I said, I think his flavor profile will work very good for where you are. He was up in West Virginia. And he said, okay. So he took it. He watched the videos over the winter. Come February, he was getting ready to go, or March, getting ready to go out, and all of a sudden COVID hit, had him shut down. He went out, first competition, rolled Corey's recipe. He practiced and practiced and practiced till he got it. He even had a question about the ribs, and he bought the All Access, and he reached out to Corey. Corey, my ribs are not coming out exactly like yours. Corey, I think Corey actually picked up the phone and talked to him. Here's what you need to do. Because he was cooking on a drum. Corey cooked on a Jambo. He told him how to adjust, how to make it. That's the difference, man. You've got it. Man, how cool would it be to have a sticking world champion pitmaster? You can pick up the phone. They pick up the phone. They reach out and call you to help you. These guys want to help grow the sport. So Corey calls him, tells him how to fix it. He did it. He said, oh, my God, one of the best ribs that I've ever cooked in my life. He goes to his first competition about 4 weeks ago. Got a grand champion right off the get-go. He already qualified him, I think, for the Jack or something. There's some kind of division that gets you in on something. And had the highest scores on all of his meets that he had ever had. And he was thrilled to death. He goes back the next time, and he got reserve grand champion at his next competition. And he said, man, I got on the table of death on chicken. I had an amazing chicken, and I had somebody one judge lowballed me to death, gave me 5s and 6s. Everybody else gave me 8s and 9s. And he said, I just needed 2 points, and I would have got a grand champion back to back. Wow. So do you want to know how good these classes are? I gave you the testimonial earlier about the guy that took our classes right off the very beginning, 2 days after we launched. Here's another guy. I mean, he put it out on his YouTube stuff. We did an interview. We go to BBQ Champs Academy Facebook page. I think 2 weeks ago week and a half ago we had him on a live podcast, and he laid it out. I said, "Tell me what you did. How'd you do it?" So I think that's how Kcbs could really get big. If they were to, I didn't even know nothing about it. A lot of the guys in Texas, Aaron Leslie, he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, and told what the rules are to be able to do it, and I think that is a great way, grassroots, right? You get down to the basics. You only got 2 meats that you're cooking. It's not expensive. You can go, you can enjoy it, you can have some fun. And then if they could build that, and I'm so glad, Rusty, to see you helping with that, because, I said, like, the Kcbs promoters, they need to get more involved into growing that. That's the grassroots. That's where we can go in and compete. IBCA, man, you don't have no backyard division. You're in there with stinking Fred Robles and Lee Hickles and Phil Breedens and, the heaviest hitters there is. And
Mike
I probably left out Aaron, whatever. Aaron Leslie's and, the Bill Purvises and all these guys that are amazing. And I've left out 100 of them. And, you're going to cook against them.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But, that's what makes it tough. And we don't ever know who the heck our judges are going to be.
Right.
Because there's nobody certified. It could be a 70-year-old lady with a 20-year-old young girl and everybody in between. Yeah. And that's what makes it so tough. You better be just like down the road, good barbecue. You can't offend nobody.
You kind of mentioned a little bit about being from West Virginia. I think this profile worked for you. We're in the West Coast. This league will be in the West Coast. We have a lot of West Coast listeners to this show.
Yep.
Lots from California. So if you're thinking about getting in the backyard, I have to, I'm just going to do a little promo here. Sterling Smith took his class and great option with chicken. He kills chicken right now. Like the guy kills chicken right now. And ribs, his ribs are amazing. So great way to start if you want to get into that. And, in a flavor profile, it's been tried and true in the West Coast where we are. So it's an interesting point.
What I love. That's what I loved about Sterling, because he was kind of my West Coast guy, being from Arizona. He's got 9 8 or 9. I think it's 9 perfect 180 scores in chicken. And he cooks chicken legs. My gosh, that stuff was so amazing. His stinking chicken rub, that Gold Star chicken rub's right over here. I said, you ain't leaving without that, buddy. And that stuff, and his chicken sauce, oh my gosh, his chicken sauce is good. So
his
I may or may not have
Yeah.
used his chicken sauce in some IBCA competitions.
Nice.
Maybe or maybe not. So, and his rub, he's got an amazing chicken rub. He's got an amazing rib.
I use that thing on everything. Gold Star is one of the best rubs there is out there, period.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
It really is. I'm not
absolutely.
just saying that. I use it constantly. Come to my house, go walk right in my kitchen, look right to of my stove. You'll see a Gold Star bottle sitting right there. So I use it on everything.
That is everything rub. You know, it goes good on everything. I love what he said. I love the name of it. Everything. He said it goes good on everything. I was like, really? He said, try it. Man, I put it on everything. It's good. So yeah, it doesn't matter whose class you get. I mean, we've got some amazing steak people. We've got unbelievable. I mean, you talk about something, Robbie Royal. Come on, man. Rescue Smokers. I mean, that guy, what he did on Barbecue Pitmasters, 2-time Georgia state champion, I believe, team of the year, numerous time. Robbie is another one that's very technical, probably builds one of the most unbelievable Kcbs boxes I've ever seen in my life. Even Mark Lambert commented, like, you know, man, that guy's boxes are like unbelievable. And he built like a Kcbs box. He pulled everything out. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm fixing to build you an MBN box. I was like, what? He built that and he pulled that out and he said, no, or maybe it was a Florida box, FBA. Then he pulled it out and then he built the Georgia box. He built 3 different boxes on the set, one after another after another. That's why his classes are so long. He shows you how to do all of it. Corey's class, same way, master technician. If you're looking to step up your Kcbs game, he's another amazing Kcbs cooker. Mark Lambert, come on, man. We had Mark on our show this last week, a 6-time world champion, 4 Memphis and Mays, American Royal, Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. I mean, he is the pork king. His ribs and his pork butt was so crazy good. He cooked an amazing brisket. And his chicken, he did these chicken legs that were like, golly, Mark, them things are phenomenal.
Right.
Joey Smith is my IBCA guy, you know, amazing food. You can't, he is an incredible brisket cooker, incredible. It's probably his strongest point. Strong chicken, very, very good ribs. We all have our strong points. No doubt Joey's is brisket and chicken, and his ribs are just right there.
Right. So
they are very, very good. They win. It's just that consistent backyard flavor. And Lee Hickle, same way. He was the number 1 cook in brisket, number 1 cooker in rib, and number 2 cooker in chicken in 2019, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Sterling, you know, come on, man. That guy is just an amazing cook.
Well, I told him in the class. I told Mike Sterling in this class, his brisket was the best I've ever eaten. And it's true.
Yeah.
Still to this day?
To this day, it was the best I've ever had.
Heck yeah.
Like he crushed it that day. Just probably crushed it all the time. He actually had a really good call up here in Ogden with that brisket. I think he got third with it.
Yeah, his brisket is amazing. He cooks his like just live, man, just right over the coals and stuff. I was like, golly, man, that is awesome. And, you know, David Bosca, come on, man. I mean, Mr. Butcher himself, I mean, he was 2019 American Royal runner-up, 2019 Jack Daniel grand champion. I mean, and Craig Sherry, you know, Texas pepper jelly. I love Craig's class because his ribs were so dadgum good. He shows you how he uses his pepper jellies and stuff. And his food is so good. Craig just hasn't got a chance to cook a lot in the last 4 years because he was IBCA president. But, you know, and he was one of the few that didn't inject ribs. And I was like, that really? And he said, and I took a bite of that rib. I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. And he's like, what do you think? You think I need to inject? Like, heck no. Well, you don't listen to me. You know, you went out and just kicked my butt. You had a second place rib at the next competition we went to after he did his class. I was like, just whatever I said, just throw it out the window. You just do Craig Sherry because that stuff was so good. So
nice. Well,
I don't know. I mean,
well, I'm just telling you right now, Rusty's on the webpage, so we're getting closer.
I'm not buying anything.
Yeah,
I just gotta get out of
close.
here. No, I'm just looking.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me do this for you real quick. I can probably give you this teaser. I can't share my screen. I could go ahead and load it up for you. Hey, Anthony, go over there and put that over there. Yep. Just go and hit the button for him. He's all right.
So, no, but I wanted to touch a little bit because we're talking about the 4 heavy meats and steak, but also there are some other smaller, shorter classes on the website too that that I want to talk about. Yeah.
Speaking of Smitty, the dude has a bread pudding recipe on there.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh my God.
And I remember you said you improved on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you. So we have 20 backyard barbecue recipes that we have for $99, $5 a piece,
which I bought,
which is amazing. And I brought in Craig Sherry, Joey Smith, Lee Hickle, Mark Lambert, and Sterling Smith. 4 world champion pitmasters, and we kept on picking on Lee. 4.5. He don't have the world champion. He will one day. I think Lee Hickle is going to probably do it. And to have 5 of those guys in our studio at one time was like the most amazing thing ever. I said, when have you ever had 5 guys cooking like you guys together at once? Mark said, it's probably never happened. That's the cool thing with BBQ Champs. We can make some of the impossibles possible. We got another thing that's about to go down in the steak stuff. That's the impossible being possible. And it's coming in about 4 weeks. It's going to blow your flipping mind, but we won't tell anybody now. But I will tell you this. You guys will be the first to know about it, and y'all will let it know. So let that be known.
Thank you.
I will make sure that you guys get first dibs on it. I promise you that.
Hey, man, if you're coming out with it, I'm pumped.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be awesome. But we got all these guys together, and I said, okay, we're going to do 20 backyard recipes. Give me your best. Sterling said, man, I cook an amazing bread pudding. I cook these French rack of lamb. He had these shrimp that he had done with avocado, a little type salad deal. We had Mark Lambert cooking like these amazing fried ribs. And he had like these, he did a Peking duck with this orange marmalade drizzle. And I was just like, man, all these recipes here. I got this herb roasted chicken that I do, and it's got this Alabama white sauce. It's like a white sauce. He said, oh my God, you're going to love it. I said, I hate mayonnaise. He said, you're going to love it. So we did that. We did tri-tip caprese. We had, my beef guru, Joey Smith did Texas ribs. We had Lee Hickle did a Texas style prime rib. We did a bacon wrapped pork tenderloin stuff with cream cheese. Craig Sherry dropped a bomb on how to cook a turkey, and he did one thing on that turkey that I've never in my life seen before, and that turkey was the most amazing turkey I've ever had in my life. He did a port wine brine ham, which the wine kind of balanced that salt out of it, and it was absolutely amazing. Cheesy bacon wrapped moink balls that Lee did. Cedar plank salmon, that was the other one that Smitty did. Oh my gosh, they were amazing. Just the list goes on and on and on. You can go to bbqchamps.com, and it's BBQ Champs Academy, bbqchamps.com. And we started cooking all these foods, and it was the craziest thing is nobody wanted to get outdone by the other. Like, I'm going to cook this, and it was, oh my gosh, these things were so good, and it was just like, well, he ain't going to outdo me. It was like a competition going on. These guys would not let anybody outdo the other when they cooked, because we were all eating it. I would eat it on camera, and then we would get done, and then, all right, come on in, guys, and everybody come in. Oh, my gosh, this stuff is so good. And because now they got all these guys eating their food. Man, they left nothing on the line with that. So for your viewers, for your listeners that like just good backyard food and you don't want to get into the competition stuff, man, this is the best $99 that you could ever spend.
But I will say this. I have the hardest time going to SCAs, and they say ancillary, and they're like chicken. Yeah. I'm like, God, what am I going to do for chicken? Or what am I going to do for appetizer? What am I going to do for this? Looking at this list right here, man, you can give a billion ideas you can even do for an SCA ancillary. You know, like,
yes, you can.
There's a lot of cool stuff on here for that too. So if you're out there right now going, man, I'm heading down to Richfield, Utah in 2 weeks. I'm going to do the SCA and anything that flew in ribs. What the heck am I going to do? Well, I got 4 or 5 here you can do right now.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, there's no doubt. And that bread pudding, let me tell you about the bread pudding because you brought it up. So I'm not a big bread pudding person. I've never liked it. And Sterling's mixing it all up and, he's getting it all done. And I said, you going to add a little cinnamon or nutmeg to it? And he was like, you want to? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't, you're the world champion over here, not me. Well, you want to put something in it? I was like, I just asked. I said, I'm thinking, some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and a bread pudding would make it better. And he was like, well, I don't ever put it in it. I said, well, then we're going to cook what you cook. Don't listen to me. I have no idea if it's going to make it good or not because I ain't ever cooked a bread pudding in my life. I don't even, so I'm not a real big bread pudding person. So he got it all mixed up, got it all done. Man, it looked so good. It smelled great. He said, we're going to go put it in the Green Mountain Grill. We're going to let this thing cook, 45 minutes or an hour. He brought it in here and he said, okay, so we just got some solo cups, and he scooped it in and I know you've seen it. And he threw it in there and I was like, all right, let me try this, see how good this is. Damn, pretty deadgum good stuff there. I grabbed me another bite. I was like, man, I said, this is actually pretty deadgum good. And he was like, well, you like it? I said, man, I'm not a real big bread pudding person, but I said, Sterling, I said, you did a good job of this. And I went, uh-oh. And he sat there and just, what we doing? And he just kind of looked at me and I said, he said, you fixing to get the nutmeg and cinnamon? And I said, wait a minute. I said, hold on a second. I'm standing right here, right? And I'll have to turn this way. And I reached back here and I got this stuff right here. And I said, what about a little Texas pepper jelly apricot in it? And he said, what? I said, wait a minute. So I had it and I opened this jar up. I got a teaspoon and I threw it in there and I stirred it up. This stuff is smoking hot. It just come off the grill. And I stirred it up and I took a bite of it and I was like, holy freaking cow. I smacked him on the shoulder. I beat him again. I was like, oh my God. He's like, man, you're going to bruise me here. And I was like, oh my gosh, Sterling. I said, I know your bread pudding is really good, but I said, this just turned this thing into like a cobbler. I said, it is so, he said, well, let me try it. I grabbed it and I threw some in. He stirred it up. He's like, oh my God. He said, this is so good. And he's like, I may have to incorporate that in my new bread pudding recipe. And I was like, Craig Sherry had done left because his classes had already filmed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. All the guys come in and we're throwing it in and they're getting, I was like, y'all don't eat my bread pudding. This stuff is good. And I said, they tried it. And I said, now try it with this. And we threw it in it. And they tried it. It's like, oh my God, Mark Lambert's eyes rolled back in his head. And I had that one, and I reached back here, and I got this one, berry medley. I love berries. Blackberry, blueberry, raspberry. And I was like, let's try this one. And I threw that in there, and I was like, oh, my gosh. I said, as good as that one is even better. And he said, Craig Sherry is going to owe me a fortune. So that bread pudding, the way he cooked it is amazing. But the cool thing is, I would order the berry medley. I would order the apricot. I'd maybe get the apple cinnamon. I'd have 2 or 3 different ones. I got all of them. And and every night I can have that bread pudding and I can eat straight. I can have the berry medley. I can put the apricot. I can put the apple. And I just mix it up a little bit in it and get it warm and throw a teaspoon in it, big heaping teaspoon, and mix it up. My gosh, if you haven't tried it, it is so good. It takes it from a bread pudding to like a cobbler. And then you can have a different cobbler every day. I'm sorry. I went on a long way.
No, that's amazing. I want to do it right now.
So good.
I love bread pudding. So I'm always looking for anything good with bread pudding. Gosh, I could eat bread pudding all day. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
I actually used to work in New Orleans and I used to work at the Quarter Two Sisters. And
oh, yeah. And you would think me being in Louisiana, I would love bread pudding, but it's just, I never made it a whole, you go to a restaurant. I don't know. It was all right, but man, that bread pudding that he cooked was,
in my opinion, bread pudding is the best dessert or the worst. There's like,
love it or hate it.
There's not an okay version out there.
People make it funky, So a couple things, Mike, what do you guys got planned for the future? Now you just kind of said something kind of cryptic coming on in 3 weeks. Maybe if you want to talk about that, but do you have any more cooks coming on? What do you guys have for the future of the backyards?
Yeah,
Champs
got
the BBQ Champs.
Get it out.
It's a BBQ Champs Academy.
I
know. Come on,
BBQ Champs Academy.
Like I said, we're professionals.
That's it. Hey, we all do it. I have fun with this. We've got 3 more amazing SCA cookers coming.
Cool.
I mean, amazing cookers. we are in talks with 2 more barbecue cooks that are amazing cooks. You know, you better have some pretty good credentials if you're going to come rolling up in BBQ Champs. I mean, we really do try to get the absolute best of the best. I mean, world champions are great. Runner-ups are great. Lots of wins are really, really good. I mean, when you can roll off 8 first place and 8 second place in a year and this or that, or something that's very, very predominant that, you know, you did good. You may not have won a lot of points or something because you didn't get to cook, you know, 50 or 60 competitions. But, you know, when you can cook 30 or 35 and still be well in the top 10, that's pretty dadgum impressive, you know, and we look at stuff like that and look at your record. And so we've got some amazing cooks coming. I'm thinking about, I'm going to say 2 to no longer than 3 weeks. I'm going to say probably in 2 weeks, we've got another world champion coming in the States.
Nice. And let's talk about,
you gotta save my money then.
Let's talk about your weekly show you have on Facebook Lives. Let's talk let's touch on that a little bit.
I tune into that well, I missed the last one, but
yeah. On Tuesday night at 7:00 Central, we have BBQ Champs live, and we try to bring in our world champion pit masters and grill masters and just kind of sit down. And, you know, we had a great one this past week talking about Mark Lambert and how he got his start and, you know, how he went from just being the kind of the guy in the back and cleaning up everything and learning, and then kind of got moved into the head pit master deal. And then about 4 years to that, just started his own team and talked about his journey, how he went through and won 4 world champions at Memphis in May, and his philosophy of cooking and how he approaches things, how he developed rubs and sauces, and how he got into all of that. So we just had Mark. We had Steve, the guy that had won the backyard division, that got the grand and the reserve grand champion. You know, I want to hear his story and what he thought of Corey Mike's all access class and and how well he did after taking it. So still trying. Hit that button, man. And anyway, but it was really good. It's the first time that I've had somebody come on. You know, we got a lot of reviews and stuff like that, how well they've done. But now having somebody actually, here we are, we're talking, I'm asking, tell me what your story was. So yeah, we do it on Tuesday night at 7:00. We kind of roll through not only just our barbecue pit masters, but in-state grill masters, but we've brought Steve in, and I've got some other people. I'm thinking about, you know, Gunnar Wilheim. I talked to David the other day, and you know, I'd like to learn more about knives and stuff like that. So we're going to try to bring some interesting stuff. You know, there's a lot of things like what angles do these knives to be sharpened at, and you know, can I pull something out of him that we can gain some knowledge? I'm sure I can, because there's a lot to learn on knives and stuff, and you know, the types of knives and this and that, which is the best one for, you know, doing a brisket or ribs or this or that or steaks. And so I'm thinking about trying to get him in here. We talked a little bit last week right before got Mark on, and we may try to get David in here. We got a bunch of pit masters and grill masters that we're going to get to go through. I've got some other guys that may do some testimonials for us. I think those are really a tribute to, you know, how good our classes are. Yeah, I can sit up there and I can tell you, and you can go read the reviews on the website. But man, when you have the person themselves talking about it, you know, and telling you in their own words, you know, Rusty, I really do. I'm from the bottom of my heart, man. I really do appreciate the classes that you have bought. You're a huge supporter of our company. I appreciate it. You, I know, have done very well since taking these classes. I hope. Have they helped you?
Oh, 100%. I would not be the steak cook I am. I mean, not to brag, but I top 10 steak almost every comp I've been in, but maybe 1 or 2. And it's because of the Shauna Rapolo classes, because of the John Lindsay classes, because of all those. 100%.
Well, see, from the bottom of my heart, in all sincerity, that is what I love about BBQ Champs Academy. To help somebody that may not have had a top 10s all the time. I don't know how many top 10s you may have had, but you are now, and you said they've helped you. So to me, that is what it's all about. And you have been a huge supporter of the company. You have done a lot to promote it and push it out. And I think it's helping. We're selling a lot of classes, and I greatly appreciate that for what you have done and help supporting us. I think with the cookers that we have coming, I think you're going to be really excited to see some of the next line of cookers that we have. You gain a lot of knowledge from these guys, and it's the little tidbit you learn from this guy and this guy and this guy. And when you take and put all that stuff together, you have something that's pretty amazing. So
yeah, it's kind of like a Frankenstein situation, because with Alan, I learned how to trim. His trim in there is awesome. Then with Shauna, it's all about how to modify your grill to fit your needs, and something I got from her that helped me a ton. And then with John Lindsay, it's really about little techniques are going to help you. I mean, he's kind of gets these little details in. And then there's Terry, who's just like, yo, this is how you cook a steak. It's not that hard. Like this is how you win. And this is what I do. And you know, you kind of take the philosophy of Terry with the technician of John, and like the little things from the other two and ties, and you just put them all into one. And, you know, I think that's where you really get all that from. And for me, even one little detail that can get me in those top 10s or get me that golden ticket is worth, you know, the $160 that has cost me to get there. Which isn't a lot, you know, it's not a lot for a class. It's not.
No, it really isn't. For what you learn from these guys, it's really not. And that's kind of why we're doing our BBQ Champs live show, you know, where we can kind of pick their minds a little bit and talk. And you know, that Lee kind of gave us some really good strategies. When you go into a competition, this is what I'm doing. And, you know, I'm staying focused. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So there's some little tidbits that we're going to kind of put in there and kind of bring out. So we've done that. We do that Tuesday night at 7:00 Central.
That's what I was going to ask.
It's actually live on our Facebook page. So it's a live feed, and it actually goes to our YouTube channel as well. And if your viewers are watching, we are definitely trying to grow our subscribers on our YouTube channel. We really never have been pushing that. Everything's always been through Facebook, but we are going to start trying to grow our YouTube channel, because now when we do our live deal, that goes to both our Facebook and our YouTube channel. So I would ask all your viewers, please, if you don't mind, go over there and click that subscribe button for BBQ Champs Academy. We got some really cool things that'll end up going over there as well, that you may not like to watch on Facebook, but it'll be on our YouTube. So if you go there and click the subscribe button, you'll get the notifications. We do have something epic coming in about 3 to 4 weeks. You will not want to miss it. And we think we're going to be able to get it on our YouTube channel as well.
Oh, cool.
And so for those that like to watch stuff on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And last 2 weeks ago, we did another thing called BBQ Champs Queuing Live. And we're trying to do it on Mondays at 6:00. And it's where I'm kind of cooking up different recipes and showcasing which rubs pair well with like a pork or a beef or a steak. Like we're going to do. Now, I'm not cooking a ribeye steak. We're not going to cook what my guys, you know, the grill masters do, but maybe like a flank steak if you wanted to make fajitas and stuff like that. And I'll give it a little spin. So I've got a mass amount of rubs around me. And, you know, sometimes it gets confusing, like which rub pairs well with this. I'm all about balance because I'm an IBCA cooker. So I want, and Mark, and I learned this from Mark, you know, here's a little, you know, Mark talks about the little square. I want a little heat. I want a little savory. I want a little sweet. I want a little tang, like in my barbecue sauce. So, and he said, you know, I want to be in the center of that box. I don't want to just taste this or this. I want it to be balanced. And that's one of the things that I had always done in my BCA cooking. So, you know, I've got all these rubs back here, and you're like, which rub do I use? Especially, you know, with COVID and more people staying at home, a lot of people that's never even probably grilled that much before, maybe hamburgers and hot dogs. That's why our $99 classes are doing so well. Now it's so diverse, and they're very complex backyard dishes, right? I mean, they're really, really amazing. And now they can go cook these, and most of the prep time from start to finish is an hour and a half, unless you get the turkey and prime rib and stuff. Most of these dishes, 90% of them are done in hour and a half, start to finish. And so it's helped those guys, but by doing this live cooking class, it gives us an opportunity to say, okay, today we're going to use, you know, Be Extreme Devil Dust. We want a little heat on the top. We're going to use Brian Crawford's Seasonal. That is a great salt, pepper, garlic. And then we're going to pair it with some of Texas pepper jellies, maybe it's chicken rub or whatever we're cooking. So we can kind of show you how to layer flavors that produce a wonderful dish for the backyard that's really like almost competition worthy. I mean, it's not competition food, but it's got the caliber of that good flavor. And then we're going to show you which sauce is going to pair well with it. Like this last week, I did a smoked meatball sub with a pepper jack cheese. And then I had to find the right sauce that would go with a meatball sub that I don't want a sweet sauce on that. So we used Be Extreme's new barbecue sauce that they just came out with, and it's very well balanced. It's got a little sweet, little heat, little tang, and it's so good on that sandwich. You just pour it. So I just literally cook it live. I mean, I do it live. We show you how to mix it up. We have some already ready. We show you how to cook it on the grill. We already got them done. We put it in there, sliced it, had it on the cutting board, took a big bite of it. And so that was good. We're going to do that. I did a product review on this new lump that I got a hold of. It's Lumberjack Premium Coal, and it's a 60% blend of oak, 20% alder, and 20% birch. Amazing. Clean, no chemical smell, no popping. I did a little review, very large pieces. So I literally set up my camera. I laid it out on the table on a big sheet pan, and I just showed you the pieces. I lit it right there on the camera where you could see it. I had a camera point right in the 22-inch WSM. I tickled the center of it because I was fixing to cook a bacon wrapped meatloaf. And just so we're going to kind of help people, like, we're an online cooking class, right? That's what we are. We're a cooking school. And so I want to kind of throw out some pro tips and some little things to do. I'm going to try to do it every Monday. There may be times where I just can't get to it. But if you follow us on Facebook at BBQ Champs Academy, if you follow us on our YouTube channel, that's why I'm saying subscribe. But if you set it up for notifications, you'll know that we're going to put something out. Hey, tomorrow at 6:00, we're going to be doing this, or, and it'll be on both. Whatever goes on our Facebook goes on our YouTube. So it's going to be, I'm hoping, a fun show. We're trying to build up the viewership on that. We had a couple thousand views the first deal that we did on the Lumberjack deal. So I think we ended up having 6,000 views on that deal. And because some of this stuff is hard to find, man. I mean, I love B&B charcoal. I love B&B lump as well. Right now I'm having a hard time getting B&B lump. I use their hickory, and man, I'm telling you, it's hard to get it. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do if I can't get it? I got a competition. So I started looking around, and I found this Lumberjack, and I'm just like, I said, send me some bags. And I tried it, and I absolutely loved it. So at least I've got a backup, or I'm thinking about even blending those, because I can have a little hickory, little oak, so I think it's really good. So that's kind of what we're doing. Follow us. You'll get the notifications. Definitely Tuesday at 7:00. We are locked into that with the live podcast that we're doing. And then the Q&A live is going to be Mondays. We're trying to do them at 6:00 when we do them. And I think we're going to be able to try to get them pulled off every week as well. Just got so much going on.
Perfect.
I feel like,
I did just do one thing. I did just subscribe.
He did click a button. He subscribed.
I did. And I hit the little bell. So I'm going to get notifications. And I see the smoked meatball sub right now, which literally, I don't know why. I went swimming with the kids today. I'm starving to death. So this meatball sub with pepper, I'm going to get up on that.
Yeah, it's good.
So you can also watch all the YouTube lives on there too. Or not, I'm sorry, the Facebook lives you can see on there too. So they're all there. So if you missed it, here you go. Right here.
Perfect.
Yeah,
so
you got them.
So YouTube, Facebook, and then your webpage. Are you on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that?
We're on Instagram.
Perfect.
I got to get more active on Instagram. I got a lot of pictures. I'm one guy, man. I'm trying to coordinate all this and do that and build ads, and I know I need to do more of it, but it's just,
we all do. Trust me, it's all good. We all do.
It's just, you try to hit what you can, and I know I need to get more active on Instagram. So we do try to post occasionally over there, and I've got to do a better job. It's BBQ Champs Academy on Instagram as well. And, we're having a lot of fun, and I think we've got some great pit masters and grill masters and all of us working together. And, it's like a big family. And, like I said, we want to grow the sport, not only on steak, but barbecue as well. And I'm very, very happy with the results in a year and a month that we've been out. It's growing. It's getting bigger. It's bbqchamps.com. is the website. And, can you do a screen share or not? Can y'all do that?
I don't know. I don't even know how to put gas in a car, so he knows all this stuff.
Yeah, I'll get that data from you. And perfect. And then make sure you go and follow him, because there's some breaking news in a couple of weeks that's coming out. Make sure you're following us for sure to be able to listen to that, because I think we're going to go live with that. And
we've got something that's never been done before. It's going to be big, and I'm hoping in 3 to 4 weeks that we can have it. The breaking news will come here. And when we get ready to do it, we will definitely let you know. We appreciate what you've done. So on breaking news like this, you're going to be the first to know.
Cool.
And we're obviously we're going to flood it on our Facebook page. We're going to put it on our YouTube page. We're going to have a promotional video for it. And I am beyond excited about it. So it's going to be pretty dadgum cool.
Heck yeah.
Well, man, we want to say thanks so much for coming on. I am a big fan. I'm a supporter of yours, not just because it's helped me so much, and it continues to help me get better. Right. It continues to be a source for me to use constantly. I mean, I think I watch one of your videos once a week, just kind of like, oh, you know what? I haven't seen Terry Roan's video for a minute. I'm going to go brush up on that. I'm going to now, because I have a state competition coming up very soon. And, I just kind of watch, because you always get something every time you rewatch it. I should be doing that.
I didn't catch that. That's why I had a guy tell me one time he bought Corey Mike. Here we go, Corey Mike's class. And he said, I've watched it now the 4th time. And every time I've watched it, I see another little technique that he did that I missed. Mm-hmm. And he said, I've watched it 4 times, and every time I picked up another little technique. He said, I never would have seen that in an in-person class. He said, I want to thank you once again for doing that. And I really he took the time out to call me and let me know that. And cool. I thought it was really cool. So,
like I said, man, what you're doing for barbecue now, I think, and barbecue and SCA and all that stuff, you're just helping people get better, and it's just going to help the sport grow. It's going to help us compete better, harder. Yeah. It's going to be, I'm a competitive person, makes it funner for me. So, and just to continue to learn down the road, man, we appreciate your time, and please everyone subscribe and watch those videos on Monday and Tuesdays. They're super cool. They're a lot of fun to watch. A lot of cool people on there. Mark Lambert was just on there this past week.
So, like you said, awesome. Cool. Guys, I really do appreciate it. If you need anything from me, Rusty, I'm a phone call away. Sure. And I'm hoping in about 3 weeks, I'm picking up the phone and calling you guys to give you some breaking news. I'd like to come back here and we can talk about it. And we'll roll. I'll make sure I get you the promo video, and I don't know if you'll have the capability of rolling it on this.
Yeah, we can do it all.
Yep,
we have all that. That would be really cool. Or if we have to go live, I don't care what you do, but it's going to be a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, man, take my money. Might as well just spend all my money on your classes. You can buy yourself a brand new car.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's not cheap producing these videos. It cost us a fortune to produce them. So I'm almost out of the red after a year and a month. I'm getting close to turning a profit with this thing, because it is expensive doing these videos. I mean, it literally is. It's not cheap. So
it looks like it, man. They're done very well.
Quality, right? It's just the quality. We'll spend $6,000 to film a barbecue class, $3,500 just to film a steak class.
Jeez.
So it costs a lot of money to do this, and I don't know. I'm scared to look. Last time I looked, I spent over $60,000 in video just to do the production.
That's about how much I spent on my last competition.
There you go.
Well, Mike, it is always a pleasure to talk to you.
Guys, I really have.
And we look forward to what you have for us next. I'm waiting. I'll start saving my money. Put my pennies in my piggy bank. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike.